Don't you have to go to work?
Mm-hmm. You know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, bottoms up. No pain, no gain. I don't know how those action guys do this shit. Oh, hello, internet fans, and welcome to 3B Video. I'm your host, Rotten Roger DeMarco, and today we're going to be talking about Peter Hyams' 1999 film, The End of Days. Okay, so for those of you who don't know about this film, here is your plot synopsis. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger, first and foremost, that's the most important part of the film. And the devil, played by Gabriel Byrne, comes to the city right at the turn of the new millennium, when everyone was afraid that the world was going to end in the year 2000. And the devil comes to take over the world, and Arnold Schwarzenegger has to stop him. And that's the synopsis. Yeah. It's fantastic. All right, enough of the Schwarzenegger voice. This is a fucking great movie, and we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary of this film, so I could not close out this year without paying tribute to this film, without expressing my love for this film and for one of my all-time favorite action heroes, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, but before we get into my overall thoughts of the film, first, let's take a look at
Ryan Rogers! Splatter facts.
we have 13 dead bodies plus an entire restaurant worth of corpses. Couldn't count them if I tried, and I did. We actually have 7 titties.
That is an excellent titty ratio.
We have Y2K paranoia, bathroom devil possession, 1 manly breakfast smoothie, super gross, 1 cat in a fridge, the jump scare cat from a fridge, 1 melty orgy. It's like some society shit. Bulletproof priests, a spirit apple, flammable devil piss, devil trickery, a lot of devil related splatter facts, gratuitous Schwarzenegger grunts. Come on, grab my hand, come on. A lot of those there. Angry mob ass beating, train ducking, and 1 big ass devil in a church. The methods of death include, but are not limited to, explosion, crucifixion, bus smoosh, throat slash, punched through, burnt up, die-hearted, crossed, broken neck, off screen, god damn you, and the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so now on to my overall thoughts of this film, guys. In my opinion, I feel like this is an extremely underrated, forgotten film from the Schwarzenegger catalog. Towards the period in his life where his stardom was essentially waning, people were not so interested in watching Arnold Schwarzenegger be this hero anymore. There was a lot of stuff. There was Mad TV skits where Will Sasso was playing like an aging Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it just seemed like the general consensus was that the world was checking out. So there's a handful of his films that didn't get the recognition that they deserve, and this is one of them. This is one of those movies that ticked off all the boxes for me. I think that this is one of those good movies that, for whatever reason, people just turned a blind eye to it and did not give it its fair shake. He never gets the credit he deserves for being an actually talented actor. Everyone just sees him as muscle and grunts and machine guns, and that's not the case. He plays a very likable character in this film named Jericho, who kind of takes these jobs protecting people or looking into things, and he's just sort of this super sleuth. The police don't really like him, and he's a very tortured character. But his character in this movie is fantastic, with a lot more depth than you traditionally see Schwarzenegger play. And that alone is one reason why this movie definitely deserves to be seen. You have Stan Winston and his team doing the effects, the gore, the demons, all the good stuff, and it ages very well. It looks very good. The only stuff, in my opinion, that doesn't hold up to this day is the overuse of CGI in a couple of scenes in this movie where they just did not age that well, and they're not nearly as convincing now as they were back then. I think that this movie satisfies horror fans and action fans alike. It's just a good movie all across the board, and it's got something for everyone. And Gabriel Byrne, who is notorious for playing a bad guy, does a great job in this movie as the devil. And he has this very like snarky attitude about him, you know, this very nothing can harm him. He is attempting to impregnate Robin Tunney, but in my opinion, I think that this movie does have this right blend of horror, action, and comedy, where there's some very silly lines of dialogue, but they don't ever cross into that slapstick void, where it doesn't feel like they're punchlines. The writing in this movie is top-notch. You really feel like you're being plunged into this dirty, gross underworld, and it has a very David Fincher style tone to it. It feels like it could be in the same world as Seven. The one thing about this movie that sticks out to me and is a little hilarious because I am from this generation is that I feel like JNCO jeans was a sponsor of this film. There's tons of people rocking JNCO jeans, chain wallets, a lot of nu metal in the soundtrack. It felt like, man, if you could take a soundtrack and take a movie that defines me as like a 14, 15-year-old kid, it's gonna be this movie. It made me chuckle a little bit because I'm like, man, I used to rock those pants and skateboard as well. I'm not the one staring at me. Nu metal for life. You know, this movie's for all the people who are sitting around in their mom's basements listening to Korn. That's us. This movie's for us. You're one of us. And another great thing about this movie is Arnold's sidekick. You got Kevin Pollak. I always butcher this dude's name. He's the exact opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, Arnold is this big, hulking, larger-than-life hero type, albeit he's very tortured in this film. But then you have Kevin Kevin P, my man Kevin P. Can't say his name, just abbreviate it, right? Kevin P. Just this very average, small, hairy little man who serves as sort of this comedy relief, but almost as a moral compass for Arnold as well. Every time Arnold sort of starts drifting towards this dark side, you have Kevin P pulling him back, keeping him in check. And they have a very unique relationship on screen that I really enjoy. And it's not like any of the other relationships with characters that Schwarzenegger has in other films. If it is comparable, let me know in the comments, because I just really dig their camaraderie, their buddy cop camaraderie in this movie. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into a little bit of a spoiler-esque discussion about this film, which is something that I wonder about when I watch this movie. So if you haven't seen this movie,
spoiler alert,
go grab a soda. The whole point of this film is so that Gabriel Byrne can impregnate Robin Tunney and give birth to the Antichrist. And the church is attempting to stop this from happening by assassinating her. The church wants to kill her to save the world, which is a fine plot. I have no issues with it except this one. Murder is a sin. The church knows this. Wouldn't it be just as effective to drug her and tie her tubes while she's asleep? Then the Antichrist cannot be born, correct? Is that how this works? I think so. They couldn't come up with a better option? No tubes, no baby. Not no person, no baby. Solve it. Come on, guys. It's a good question. What do you guys think? Do you think that the sperm of Satan could penetrate through the tube tying process? Is that why they chose to assassinate Robin Tunney? Inquiring minds want to know. There's a lot of underlying themes in this movie that can totally be discounted if you're just watching it as A, a horror movie, or B, an action film. But if you take in a lot of the subtext and a lot of the heavier shit that's under the surface with this movie, it can really lead to some interesting discussion. Once you scratch the surface, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I feel like gets discredited. As far as the horror sequences go in this film, that the subway scene is very tough to beat. You know, the subway scene in this film is relentless, it's intense, it's right up there. It does kind of remind me a little bit of the subway sequence from Predator 2. It's just a really fun cat and mouse sequence with a lot of testosterone, and I enjoy the shit out of it. So, in my personal opinion, this movie is 100% popcorn as fuck, because it's been 20 years, guys, and we're still talking about End of Days. This is one of those movies that is gonna be here, I feel like, long after we're gone. It's gonna be discussed forever. It's a really fun Schwarzenegger film with an excellent villain, great nudity, with great gore, with all the fucking sweet gags you could shake a stick at, and it really says something about the way the world was leading up to the new millennium. A really well-made movie that deserves more eyes on it. I mean, I know it's been 20 years, but we can't forget about this one. So do yourself a favor and click the link in the description and get a copy of End of Days for you today. But I suppose I should probably get going, because after all, there's a lot of movies out there. Somebody's got to watch them, so why not me? Right? See you next year. Hey, Evil, you get the mop and come take care of this. Somebody puked back here.